Hey, small caveat before we start. The YouTube content ID system has been going ham this past week, so in an act of paranoia, I put an ugly hue over every anime clip to try and protect my video. Sorry if it's distracting, hopefully you'll enjoy Greenpeace!
And now, our feature presentation.
Why One Piece power scaling is broken. Okay, before you get your jammies in a twist, this isn't a video about inconsistent power levels or it's bullshit if Perona can insta-win against Shanks. No! I got a lot of power scaling friends in this shitty app called Amino who indoctrinated me into the power scaling community. And One Piece is the only series I feel comfortable scaling, so here I am with my sexy bird avatar to try and educate. Now there is some jank scaling in One Piece. It's an ambitious 1,000 chapter epic after all. There's bound to be weird stuff if you look deep enough. The most prominent example is probably Crocodile being way stronger in Marineford than he was in Alabasta. But no worries, nobody is perfect. One Piece power scaling is mostly consistent within itself. Or at least I believe it to be so. Characters being able to beat opponents stronger than they are through strategy or a cool hack ability like my wife Perona is simply put, fun. It's fun seeing how certain abilities interact with each other, and naturally someone just can have advantages over some others. This even helps perpetuate the theme of teamwork. You know, helping out by doing what only you can do, or by doing what you can do best. My upcoming tantrum is more so to do with how the community largely chooses to discuss power scaling and how the series encourages us to discuss it that way. An overwhelming majority of power scaling discussion in the One Piece community is centered around the top tiers. Characters who, for the most part, have been left largely ambiguous in regards to how they relate to one another. This leads to guessing games, circular arguments, headcanon, and general tomfoolery that I do not care for. But what do you mean? When you say it's ambiguous, look at defeats! Defeats! This is partially true. We may not have seen these characters go all out or have prolonged fights, but we did get plenty of feats for these guys, and it's definitely more sensible to talk about this group rather than this group. However, Oda pulled two sneaky tricks that keep us from a definitive answer among these big names. The first is, there is no obvious point of comparison between these characters. They have yet to show a full, straightforward, uninterrupted fight between two of them, and have a clear conclusion at the end. The reality is, most of these characters are undefeated, so you can always lean back on plausible deniability, and that's exactly what people do when they talk about these characters. But Marineford! Whitebeard is Yonko, and Yonko are all equal, so we can compare them! Zzz. Whitebeard did not fight an admiral one-on-one, nor did he fight them three-on-one. They all took turns and none of those fights even properly ended. Some people will argue Akainu definitely lost, but the reality is, he was just blown out of the field and came back later still in fighting condition. You wouldn't say Big Mom lost to Long Kid because she got thrown off the rooftop then came back, right? You're not that silly, are you? Not to mention, Whitebeard isn't comparable to the other Yonko to begin with, as the only one among them who could properly rival Roger. On top of that, his sickness coupled with his aging makes it all the harder to tell where he stands. Some people believe these two factors just cancel each other out and he's magically equal to the other Yonko, but truthfully, it's unquantifiable. This was done intentionally in order to keep the readers speculating and discussing over the matter for years to come. Not to mention the statement that the other three are equals is another assumption onto itself. I'm not saying it's impossible to compare the Admirals to the Yonko. Truthfully, I do agree Kaido and Big Mom have much better feats than them, but the obsession with the what difficulty would they win? Or how many could they defeat? Is where you start entering territory where it becomes impossible to substantiate. Because again, all these characters are still undefeated. Now the second trick the series pulled that puts the characters into question is the time skip. I'm not convinced every character got some arbitrary 2-year boost from this, but two characters in particular stick out. Akainu and Aokiji. Many of you will hate this argument, but I believe because these two now have a more unique position in the story, that gives the story room to comfortably make them stronger than they were before. If the final war happens and Fleet Admiral Akainu or the homeless bum Aokiji suddenly meets Kaido, I don't think it's impossible for Akainu or Aokiji to win. The fact is, I don't know, so I'm not going to make hard arguments about it. The story has left itself enough room to write these fights whichever way it wants, and God bless it for that. If we could mathematically prove that Kaido could beat 2.5 admirals with medium difficulty, or vice versa, long before they cross paths, then there would be so little excitement and tension going into that fight. And that goes double for these characters from earlier. People are so willing to get into a dumb argument about Mihawk or a dragon that leads nowhere. People will clamor together and argue again whenever some new magazine statement says, "Shanks has the highest bounty of any Yonko," or "Mihawk has the greatest sword skills in all der 7 seas." As if it somehow changes the whole debate. It doesn't. Nobody learns anything from these debates, but they keep happening. A new sucker may be born every minute, but some people will have such an adamant position on something which they ultimately cannot prove. It's madness. Like, have your opinion, sure, but it's okay to acknowledge that this story isn't anywhere close to finishing, and there's still a lot being intentionally kept from us as readers. So grow up and act like it. I don't want to throw shade on any of the content creators who power scale One Piece. This isn't a criticism of King of Lightning or anything. When he and the others discuss the top tier characters in their annual top 30 strongest dudes list, I know it's because that's what people want them to talk about. I'm simply bored and disappointed that there's not much content power scaling outside what's currently unknown, and even in the communities around it. Everyone is playing Oda's game by discussing and arguing about the future. It's the same reason there's so many dumb theories coming out every single week. The more investment people have in where this manga goes, the better sales look, or something like that. Oda has mastered the art of keeping the readers guessing for a long time, and you gosh darn know he's abusing it every chance he gets. It's not at all bad to discuss the obscure top tiers. Truthfully, it's inevitable people will want to talk about them. But if you're really into power scaling, explore outside of that bubble. Maybe try exploring the earlier parts of the story a bit more. Seth the programmer made a very funny video scaling Luffy's speed and attack power, and took it down not long after upload. But I want to see more videos like that. A video cataloging Luffy's past feats and seeing how well he stacks up outside of his own verse is interesting. We have over 900 chapters of completed One Piece arcs and over 1,000 characters, so let's use them and try and find more interesting topics to talk about. Stuff we can actually substantiate because it's not being intentionally obscured. Here is an interesting exercise I would like everyone to give a try. Make a top 30 strongest One Piece characters list. Hard mode. No Yonko or their subordinates, no admirals past or present, no supernova, no warlords, no monster trio, no revolutionaries, no CP0, no Roger pirates, and none of these guys. If you want to make it simpler, let's do this with all characters as they last appeared in the story, just so there's no debacles about prime characters or dead people or the time skip. Now, presenting the top 30 strongest fodder in all of One Piece! Number 30, Gladius. 29, not joining the crew. 28, Hajuden. 27, Cavendish. 26 to 24, Bartholomew Sugar and my wife Perona. 23, Nami. 22, Brooke. 21, Treble. 20, Diamantes. 19, Soldier-san. 18, Nico Robin. 17, Gangsta Agostino. 16, Donsai. Canelo Kick Babies. 15, Tony Choppa. 14, Frankie. 13, Enel. 12, Smoker. 11 to 7, the Veen Smoke family. 6, Zunisha. 5, Pika. 4, Magellan. 3rd and 2nd, Dorian Brogy. Number 1, Shirahoshi. The ancient weapon. She can, like, sink the whole world beneath the waves. I'll gloss over the interesting topics. I don't think every character needs a detailed explanation. To start off, you'll notice many Dressrosa characters on the list. Dressrosa was just in that sweet spot outside of the band characters but ahead of most of the cast. Gladius was basically put here by order of elimination, being the only Don Quixote executive to put up a decent fight with the stronger Grand Fleet members. Some people may want Senior Pink here instead, but seeing how Frankie didn't use his weapons, he doesn't come across as impressive. Baby 5 is also a decent candidate, but she isn't as versatile or intelligent as Gladius. Persona, Nami, Sugar, and Bartolomeo could be higher. Perona's Negative Hollow, Zeus, the Habi Habi, and Bari Bari fruit respectively certainly give them the capability of beating people higher on the list. But I feel this is more than likely where they'll start losing in most cases, due to their various shortcomings such as lack of intelligence or lacking physicality. Brook is literally my favorite character, and it breaks my heart to put him below Treble and Diamante. But sadly, Brook doesn't have the feats for it. God damn it, Oda, give Brook a prolonged fight already, you darn hack! Chopper is here because he managed to not die while fighting Queen and Perosphere for upwards to 30 minutes. Maybe Marco had his back, but it's still impressive nonetheless. Frankie is here based off his performance last chapter defeating Sasaki. Some people are questioning if the fight is over, and some people may think defeating Sasaki should put Frankie higher, but frankly, I don't believe most of the Toby Robo to be stronger than 13 onward, at least based off what we've seen. Speaking of 13, I know a lot of Enel fans are gonna be mad, but hear me out. He has good range, and he has pretty great attack power if you wank him, but straight up, he is slow. Yes, the Lightning Man is slow. But he's lightning speeds! His observation hockey is too good! Yeah, okay, but you have to acknowledge, Enel called the Golden Rifle fast. In fact, even when his mantra was activated, he got kicked by Luffy and didn't dodge. If base Luffy and his giant golden weight can be fast enough to hit Enel, then surely many other characters on this list are capable of that as well. I understand, speed in One Piece is a very touchy subject for many people, but ignore the label lightning speed for a second and look at how fast Enel is when scaling the characters off of each other. Considering light speed becomes fairly common later on in the series, it's only natural for the characters to get faster in order to compensate. Enel's mantra isn't the safeguard a lot of people seem to think it is either. Again, just going off the feats, there's really no reason to believe his ability to predict attacks is any greater than, say, Sandersonia. Not to mention how attack potency has jumped pre to post timeskip because of the Pacifista scaling. I'll try to explain the Pacifista scaling as best I can while keeping it brief. Enel was pretty much able to one-shot every character in Skypiea besides Luffy for obvious reasons, but also Zoro and Viper. Now after training for 2 years, Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji can defeat Pacifistas with a single attack. For those of you who forgot, when the crew fought a Pacifista pre-timeskip, it took all 9 of them hitting it with some of the strongest attacks in order to defeat it. Therefore, every character that can withstand Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji's attacks likely have equal or greater ability to take damage as a Pacifista. So what am I getting at? I'm basically saying, unless you believe Viper has a greater capacity to take damage than a Pacifista, then you should also believe Luffy's casual Gear 2 attacks to be greater than Enel's casual lightning attacks. Now these were not Enel's strongest attacks by any means. They're not 200 million volts or his Raiko. You could give Enel the benefit of a doubt and highball his 200 million volt attacks to be on par with, say, a commander level attack or something. But personally, I simply think that is less likely to be the case. The Raigo involves certain conditions to be in place, so unless Enel drags the Arc Maxim into every fight, he can't do it under normal circumstances. And if he does want to bring in the Arc Maxim, it still takes a long time to charge and the Arc itself can be broken. Now I am judging this based off Enel's performance in Skypiea. However, if Enel returned to the story, he could definitely be worthy of top 30. It's just unfortunate that Enel really did get power clipped hard in these aspects. Enel does have the skill set to beat other higher fighters like, say, Pika, but I feel more characters are more likely to defeat Enel than they are someone like Pika, which is why Pika is high on the list. Now getting to Pika and Zunisha, they are here simply because their sheer size makes them practically unbeatable for most characters, and they have great attack power on top of it. I put Pika higher because Zunisha actually got a serious injury from cannonballs, and Pika can easily reform if you don't hit his main body. Pika specifically I've seen interesting debates about. When he's pitted against a character most would consider stronger than him, Pika's side can actually end up winning in the end because on top of a certain level of power, you also need a certain skill set in order to catch him. No surprise for Magellan, he tends to end up on top 30 lists anyway. Okay, this part is a reach, I'll admit, but Dorian Brogy ruled the seas 100 years ago. But Mr. 3! Yeah, okay, if I walked up to Naruto after he was exhausted from his fight with Sasuke, and I punted him in the gut, does that make me stronger than Naruto? I don't think so. They are the strongest warriors from Elbaf, the nation said to have the strongest military. All of their feats either involve fighting one another or fighting another character while injured. Look at this, accounting for inflation over a 100-year period, Dorian Brogy's bounties would be over 600 million. More appropriate, eh? Therefore, the lore is consistent, these two are beasts, and I proved it with maths. Thank you so much for watching. I hope those of you with open minds will think about what I just said. Do you agree with my list or my mindset? Did I just say dumb shit for 15 minutes? Is there any characters I neglected to consider for the top 30 strongest fodders? I'll make an actual One Piece Powerscaling video down the road. Probably. I promise. Like and subscribe if you want to see that. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.